10 worst and shocking shark attacks ever recorded. With the changing of the marine world, sharks follow their prey and move closer to famous shores. Surfers and undersea explorers often come under attack by sharks. However, it is not an everyday phenomenon. In recent times, concerns arise as sharks killed 7 people in Australia as of October this year. The last time the country experienced such fatalities was in 1934. So far, this year saw 21 shark attack incidents worldwide, which is normal and consistent with previous years. The difference is in the fatality rate. According to some experts, this could be seen as bad luck, as year-by-year figures always fluctuate. But there is another possible culprit: the climate crisis. Ecosystems are being destroyed and forced to adapt due to the rise of temperature in the ocean. Fish are migrating to hitherto uncharted places. Species behaviors are changing. With the changing of the marine world, sharks follow their prey and move closer to famous shores. Number 10. Randall Fry. Cliff Zimmerman was diving for abalone with his friend Randall Fry off the coast of California in 2004 when disaster struck. Zimmerman reported that he turned from Fry for a millisecond before hearing a whooshing sound and feeling the water move as if a boat went by. He spun around to see Fry gone and a shark fin surfacing momentarily before the surrounding water turned red. Zimmerman swam for his life. His companion's severed head and body were found separately the following day. Number 9. Rodney Fox. Rodney Fox, then 13, was defending his Australian spearfishing title in 1953 when a great white shark grabbed him round the middle and dragged him through the water upside down. The predator released him as he gouged his eyes but soon returned and attacked again. Fox jammed his arm down the beast's throat and pulled it free again, ripping the flesh from his arm. The shark released him and then returned a third time, dragging Fox along the ocean floor. After nearly drowning, the teenager was released and pulled aboard a nearby boat with his ribcage, lungs, and upper stomach exposed. Miraculously, his main arteries remained intact, and he survived after 4 hours of surgery and 360 stitches. Number 8. Brooke Watson. The first recorded victim of a shark attack, British merchant sailor Brooke Watson was swimming in the harbour of Havana in 1749 when a shark attacked him once and then came back for more. The 14-year-old's crewmates saw the attack and dragged him from the bloody water, saving his life. Despite losing a foot to the shark and later having his leg amputated, Watson went on to serve for 9 years as a Member of Parliament before becoming the Lord Mayor of London. Number 7. Terence Manuel. A 10-foot white pointer ripped off Terence Manuel's right leg in 1974 as he struggled to scramble into a boat driven by his friend John Talbot. The 26-year-old had been diving for sea snails in 30 feet of water when he suddenly burst through the surface and shouted, "Shark!" Talbot rushed to save his friend but was unable to prevent the attack and was instead forced to watch as Manuel bled to death in the water. Number 6. Barry Wilson. Swimming near Lovers Point off the Californian coast in 1952, 17-year-old Barry Wilson was seen by onlookers to jerk suddenly from side to side. The young tuba player then screamed before witnesses saw a shark rearing out of the water to attack him from the front and drag him under. Wilson resurfaced seconds later, screaming and flailing, his arms in a pool of blood. 5 fellow swimmers fought for 30 minutes to drag him back to the beach through the rough surf, but he bled to death before they reached the shore. Number 5. Robert Pamperin. In June 1959, Robert Pamperin was diving for sea snails off La Jolla Cove in California when his companion, Gerald Leher, heard him scream for help. Turning, Leher saw his friend upright and unnaturally high in the water with his mask missing. As he swam closer, Leher watched Pamperin slowly disappearing into the crimson waves and, diving beneath the surface, he saw his friend being dragged into the seabed in the jaws of a 22-foot shark. Scouring the water for his remains, the US Coast Guard found only a single swim fin. Number 4. Shirley Ann Durden. In 1985, Shirley Ann Durden was diving for scallops in Australia's Peak Bay when she was attacked by a great white shark, said by witnesses to have been 20 feet long. The mighty fish tore the 33-year-old in half in its first strike, as her husband and 4 children watched in horror from the shore. By the time rescuers arrived, all that remained was her headless torso floating in the water. Within moments, the shark returned and devoured that too. Number 3. Pacific Coast Attacks. 4 shark attacks occurred over a 15-day period off the Pacific coast of the United States in 1984, beginning with the gruesome death of a 28-year-old abalone diver. Omar Conger was resting vertically in the water and looking out to sea when his companion, Chris Rem, saw a great white shark rear up out of the water behind him. It grabbed him from behind and, while shaking him violently, pulled him under the water, Rem later told researchers. The shark then resurfaced and released Conger, swimming straight at his companion. Rem pulled his friend onto their dive mat and swam ashore, but Conger bled to death in the water. Number 2. Jersey Shore Attacks. This one isn't just one person. In the summer of 1916, 5 shark attacks occurred in 10 days, resulting in 4 deaths. In the first 2 weeks of July, a heat wave of epic proportions blanketed the eastern seaboard, sending thousands to the coast. Up until then, shark attacks were relatively rare outside of Florida, and many researchers believe the massive influx of tourists in the ocean played a role in the attacks. Often thought to be an inspiration for the movie Jaws, the Jersey Shore shark attacks have gained a certain notoriety, aptly named the real New Jersey Jaws. The first attack happened when a man named Charles Van Son was taking a swim at dusk when he was killed. Then, less than a week later, Charles Bruder fell victim to another attack, which took his life as well. The last of the 3 in the spate of violence happened just north of the first 2, claiming the lives of 2 more and leaving a 3rd in critical condition. It's still not clear what kind of shark was responsible, but most scientists believe it was either a great white or a bull shark. In the months following the deaths, the entire nation panicked. At the time, not much was known about shark attacks, and the 2-week terrifying ordeal became one of the forerunners of the hysteria surrounding sharks we see today. Number 1. USS Indianapolis. More than 900 men were thrown to the mercy of the sharks of the Pacific Ocean when their American warship, the USS Indianapolis, was split in 2 by Japanese torpedoes in July 1945. When rescuers arrived 4 days later, they found 579 men dead, with many chewed to pieces by circling sharks. Woody James, among just 316 survivors, said later, "The sharks were around, hundreds of them. Everything would be quiet, and then you'd hear somebody scream, and you knew a shark had got him."